My name is Dorothy. I am 27 years old, and I was born into a life that many people would call perfect. I live in London, in a grand house with tall gates, quiet hallways, and rooms filled with expensive furniture. My family is extremely wealthy. From the outside, everything looks beautiful and enviable. But inside that house, I never felt free. My parents have always been very strict. From the time I was a child, every part of my life was decided for me. They chose the schools I attended, the people I spoke to, and even the clothes I wore. My mother often stood in front of me, adjusting my hair or fixing my dress, and said, "You must always be perfect, Dorothy." To her, perfection was not a choice. It was a duty. She believed that how I looked, how I behaved, and how others saw me were the most important things in life. As I grew older, the control only became stronger. My parents decided who could be my friends. They told me which people were suitable and which were not. They watched my every move and questioned every decision. I felt like I was living inside a beautiful cage. I smiled when they expected me to smile, and I stayed silent when they expected obedience. But inside, I felt empty and tired. I wanted to live my own life. I wanted to make my own mistakes, choose my own path, and discover who I really was. One evening, my parents called me into the living room. Their faces were serious, and I immediately felt uneasy. My father cleared his throat and told me they had found a husband for me. He said the man was rich and came from a powerful family. He spoke proudly, as if he were announcing a great achievement. I had never met this man. I did not know his voice, his smile, or his heart, yet my parents spoke as if everything had already been decided. My heart felt heavy, as if a weight had settled deep inside my chest. I gathered my courage and told them I could not marry a man I did not love. I said love mattered to me. My parents looked at me with disappointment. They told me love was not important in marriage. They said status, family name, and wealth were what truly mattered. In that moment, I realized they would never understand me. That night, I could not sleep. I walked through the halls of the house, touching the walls I had grown up with, knowing I could not stay there any longer. Before dawn, I took some money, packed a few clothes, and quietly left the house. I did not look back. I walked for hours through the sleeping city, my feet aching and my heart racing with fear and excitement. For the first time in my life, I was making my own decision. As the sky darkened, I noticed bright lights ahead. It was a nightclub. I had never been to such a place before. My parents would never have allowed it. I stood outside for a moment, listening to the music and laughter. There were no rules now. No one watching me. I took a deep breath and went inside. The music was loud. The lights were colorful, and people were dancing freely. I felt overwhelmed and strangely alive. That was when I saw him. His name was Warren. He was tall, handsome, and confident. He walked toward me and smiled gently. He said I looked a little lost. I laughed softly and said maybe I was. We started talking, and the conversation flowed easily. It felt like we had known each other for years. Warren asked about me, and I told him only small things. I did not mention my family or their wealth. I wanted to be seen as just Dorothy, not as someone else's daughter or someone else's fortune. Being with him made me forget my worries. When the club closed, it was late, and he asked if I wanted to go to his place. I said yes. At his apartment, we laughed, talked, and shared stories. He kissed me, and that night I stayed with him. The next morning, I woke up in his bed with sunlight streaming through the window. I knew I had to tell him the truth, at least part of it. I told him I had run away from home. He listened quietly and then told me I could stay with him for as long as I needed. I smiled, feeling safe and grateful. I told him my parents were strict and controlling, but I did not tell him about their wealth. Weeks passed, and I started a new kind of life. I washed my clothes by hand, cleaned the apartment, and helped with dishes. It was simple, but it felt real. Warren often talked about his dreams. He wanted to become rich, buy expensive cars, and own big houses. I listened carefully, not realizing how important money was to him. One day, Warren suggested I should talk to my parents. He said they must be worried and might have changed. At first, I refused. I was afraid they would force me to return home. But he continued to talk about it, gently and repeatedly. Eventually, I missed them a little. Despite everything, I decided to call my mother. When she heard my voice, she cried. My father took the phone and told me they were sorry. He said they missed me and invited me to dinner, asking me to bring Warren. When I told Warren, he looked pleased and said it was a good chance for them to see how happy I was. The dinner went well. Warren behaved perfectly. He listened, smiled, and said all the right things. My parents liked him immediately. After that, they started contacting me again, and life felt peaceful for a while. Then Warren asked me for money. He said his business was struggling. I trusted him and agreed. At first, it was a small amount. Then he asked again, and again. The amounts grew larger. I told myself it was normal and that he would pay me back. One night, I overheard him talking about my father's money. Fear filled my heart. I went to my parents' house and learned Warren had asked them for money too. When I confronted him, he admitted it and said it was for our future. He apologized, cried, and asked me to marry him. Confused and in love, I said yes. After the wedding, I discovered the truth. Messages on his phone revealed his plan. He had never loved me. He only wanted my money. My heart shattered. I packed my bag, left him a note, and walked away. I moved to a new city, found a job at a small cafe, and began earning my own money. It was hard, but it felt right. I was finally living for myself. Warren disappeared soon after, and I felt no regret. I was no longer trapped in a life chosen by others. I was free. I was building my own life, step by step, and for the first time, it truly felt wonderful.